before the show, for Christ's sake. It only gets better from here on out, folks. It's the Minnesota Pubcast. I am Jason McGovern, as always. Not to my right tonight. Molly Burke is not to my right, but I am joined by a special guest, my friend Greg Sain, who I know from the KSTP days, frequent caller, came in and hosted plenty of shows. We worked together. I think you did The Next Big Thing. I mean, we did a lot of time on air together. We were friends off air. I'll put it out there right now. This is the guy that changed, well, as we were talking about off air, you put me on the path to get out of the political box that I was in from age about 17 to about 29, 30. I'm 34 now, so I've been freed from the box for a good 4 years maybe now. But this is the man, my man Greg Sain. This is the guy who gets credit for me not being a right-wing prick anymore.
It's
Greg?
all my fault. What's up, J-Mac?
Well, you mean, so is it your fault? You mean that I'm tolerable now? Or no. Well, I was always tolerable, at least to you.
Yeah, but here's the deal. First of all, I don't want to take responsibility for freeing your mind like I'm Morpheus. But what I will say is I think what happens is I just, like we were saying before, the things that you feel now, the way that you think, the way that you view the world is a way you were going to view it at some point anyway. You just needed a catalyst. You needed somebody to come along and kind of like to hit you in the head. Boom! Should have had a V8.
As you tried to do many
times. Right. But then one day, and obviously I must have known somewhere in my subconscious that you had the makings of a Neo. Otherwise, I wouldn't even waste the time.
Okay, actually, you know what, people, you're just going to have to deal with this. This is going to be an hour of just stream of consciousness, and it's going to be fucking fun, so go with it. But what did you... When you used to listen to me, I was a right-winger. I mean, I was stereotypical in almost every way, except for I was always for legalizing drugs. I was always libertarian on that.
Right.
And you can even, there's a couple of major issues like abortion that you can maybe swing me on or we can talk about. Right. But for the most part, I was a right-winger. I supported the Iraq invasion. I supported Bush throughout most of his office. I was just one of those right-wing pricks that was. And as I was saying off the air too, I was so happy with myself and so proud of myself. Like I wasn't a.
As well, you should have been.
Well, but I wasn't a sheepish like, oh well, I kind of like this Bush guy. Like no, right. I was like,
right.
Fuck
You're
you
all
if
in.
You don't understand Iraq.
Right.
How wouldn't we go over there? There's weapons of mass destruction and the whole bit. And you still tolerated, you more than tolerated me, you liked me. I don't understand it. How did you, through all of that BS, how did you see the glimmer of hope?
Because you can always see it, man. And you already know that, too, from the times that you've run into people who think like you thought. And the ones that you put energy into, you know, it's a knowing. I don't know. I can't really explain it. It's like, okay, here's a good example. My sister is a year younger than I am. We didn't grow up. We grew up together in a sense, but she and I are like night and day. I thought, until we got into a conversation about religion. Now, you got to remember, my mom and dad grew us up in the church in Memphis, Tennessee, the buckle of the Bible Belt. And my dad's a Baptist minister. So I just assumed that everybody in my family thought like they did. And I wasn't trying to make them think like me because I'm in the minority, right? But when it came down to it, we had a conversation about something, and she not only agreed with me, but expanded upon what I said. And I thought my head was rattling apart. Something was wrong.
She was going against your frequency.
She was going
notions.
against my frequency, man. I was like, this is crazy. But it appears that people are more and more every day are starting to be more open. When they put the internet in front of us a few years ago, you can tell that their thought was, let's see, we give them free porn and access to taking pictures of our kittens and our dogs. And that'll keep them blissfully occupied while we move forward with our plans. They had no idea that it was going to be a thing where A guy in Egypt can decide to go against the regime, and I see that 10 minutes after he did it.
In the United States
in
of
the
America.
United States of America.
Yeah.
They had no idea that the knowledge web was going to be like the World Wide Web. They had no idea it was really a World Wide Web.
And tell me, I think this is where you go. Do you think this is the World Wide Web beneath this wave of consciousness or this rise in consciousness?
It is the vehicle upon which the rise of consciousness is riding on. Because think about it like this. We're talking right now in a bar.
At Burger Mo's in St. Paul.
Burger Mo's in St. Paul, which actually has a very good burger. Come down, folks. Check it out. It's awesome. But we're sitting in Burger Mo's on a day that the Minnesota Wild's playing right up the street in Minnesota. Cold as hell. Somebody can be in Pakistan. Now, we're talking a place that has very little internet at all.
Right.
But if he's got one signal, he can be listening to exactly what we're saying right now. So whatever knowledge we may kick right now, he's catching it.
Sure.
Or he's not.
Right. Or some kid in Arkansas is, or some kid in Japan, or anywhere they want to.
Sitting at the bar listening to our podcast right across the room.
Yep.
And didn't realize that we were doing it right where he was. That's the nature of the internet. It's a huge, huge technological advancement that they had no idea that they were going to give us that much power.
Well, and this isn't the topic we're going to go into, but a little bit on the like net neutrality and stuff too. I think that the powers that be think they can control the internet, and they're going to find they never will. And that's exactly it. It's become past tense now because now we can always spread information, and there's always a hacker that's ahead of the government. There's always a guy smarter, more advanced that can always figure out a way around the system.
And we're talking about a government that found itself so cocky and arrogant that they believed that they could do anything and get away with it. They're so tough and smooth and clean with
one of the best segues of all time.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, you got some punk kid with a face full of acne sitting in a garage in Evanston, Illinois, hacking the Federal Reserve or hacking the White House. A kid. And what's so bad about it, there are people hacking right now that they will never catch.
No, of course not.
They have no way of catching them.
No.
But I didn't tell you to give me this internet. You thought I was just going to look at porn, and I do.
No, we enjoy
it. And I'm proud of it.
As well, of course.
But they had no idea it was going to be that thing that causes people to either step forward or back up. There's no place for neutrality anymore.
Let's take this to where we're going. I think that this Michael Brown thing, the Ferguson, this whole thing is, well, it's obviously, I mean, I'm not, newsflash, this is a bigger thing than just there, But it is, and it's in the way that we're talking about, too. The Michael Brown thing is not an isolated incident, and it does become way bigger than itself because of the information age. Because now you don't just hear Michael Brown and that makes the headlines, but there's no other cases. We don't hear about, it's not like they can hide certain stuff and show you certain stuff anymore.
Right.
Now it's black kid gunned down, black kid gunned down, black kid gunned down, black kid gunned down. Yeah, there's a white guy beaten there too. They mix them in. But we hear about all of it now.
Right.
And so it accumulates. It's not just this fragmented thing where the media gets to go, hey, everybody, look at this. Okay, stop looking at that. Now look at this. Right. It's hey, that happened. Oh, God, hey, can we steer you away? No, shit, no. Oh, you're still protesting?
Right.
Oh, you're spreading the word, and now it's on Twitter, and now you got your Facebook, and now everybody's together, and you're so organized, and they can't just pawn it off anymore, and they can't pretend like this doesn't matter. Now, that's without the specifics of this case. You don't even have to get into the specifics of the Michael Brown thing to understand that this is it's part of the trigger of the consciousness of this collective consciousness that is coming up. And it's okay, I want to go into this a little. It's really easy as a white guy from Minnesota to go, hey guys, anybody, black, white, whatever, don't mess with a cop and you'll be fine. It's really easy for me to say that, especially because my life history has shown if I don't mess with a cop, they don't do anything to me.
Right.
But I'm a white guy, and I'm in Minnesota. That's a very different life. than anybody in Ferguson, Missouri,
for sure,
or
Memphis, Tennessee, where I was born.
Where you're from, and that's another reason why I want to bring you on, especially being from below the Mason-Dixon line. I think gives you such a perspective that I can't have.
Right.
And so, actually, just let me get right to the question that I want to ask you, and this is the reason I brought you on this show, because you know me and you know how I look at the world pretty well.
Right.
As a 34-year-old white dude who's never really had problems with cops in my life from Minnesota, how the hell am I supposed to look at this? And I want you to tell me how you want me to look at this.
I want you to look at this, J. Mac, the same way I look at it. And that is, when you see a story make it to the national news scene, what are they really trying to get you to think?
Well, they're trying to put you in a box.
Exactly. Right? Now, there's a formula for literally everything that happens in this world. It's called create the problem, wait for the obvious reaction, and then provide the solution. It's kind of like sales, but not. They're selling you something, but it's not what you want to buy. But you think you want to buy it because they've been pushing it on you since you were in kindergarten. If you're born and raised in the deep south, like I was, Memphis, Tennessee, then you are programmed as a child that white people don't like you. When you grow up in the deep south and you're less melanated than I am, then you are taught, be afraid of the black people because they don't like you. First of all, racism is a misnomer. There's only one race of humans on the planet. Now, there are sub-races from some schools of thought say there are actually two races if you want to make them a race. And that's the Asiatic and the European. But that's a story for another day.
And I have noticed you talking about that kind of stuff on Facebook. It is very fascinating, but yes, maybe a little.
But it's not for this show though. But the key element is, what are they trying to get me to think? Because the news is no longer the news. It hasn't been the news since Cronkite. It's about perception. It's the propaganda machine. It's just like Goebbels from Nazi Germany. I think I pronounced his name right. It's a propaganda machine. Every news outlet is owned by two companies. Those two companies are owned by one family. So the question is, because everything in the world, no matter how you view it, is feudal. It's feudal. You've got a few families at the top controlling all of our families. So it's not about color, it's about bloodline. So with that being said, is your last name, let's say, Rockefeller?
Nope.
Then you don't matter.
Right.
Is your last name Morgan?
No.
How about Chase?
No.
Is your last
or
name
Lynch, or any of them,
or Bilderberger, or if that's not your last name.
Lehman, yeah.
Yeah, Lehman. But they're even the brokers. They're not even the top families.
Sure.
They're just brokers for the big families.
They work for the family.
Right.
Yeah.
The big families you probably never seen a picture of and never really heard their names.
I don't feel like I've ever seen a single person who's actually running this country. I don't think I've ever seen a portrait or any kind of picture or heard a name or a whisper of any of them.
It's just like,
and I know a lot of people right now are going, oh, you guys are crazy, and maybe even are tuning out. Don't. And we're back to the beginning of the show. Don't. There's a reason. You
stay
listen
in
to
the
this
game.
now. Stay with us for a while. It comes back someday at least. Maybe not tonight, but it will.
The bottom line is, the people who run this country and run this world, you do not know who they are. It's just like in the mafia. In the mafia, let's take just The Godfather. In the movies, The Godfather 1 and 2. We just leave 3 out if you don't mind. When Michael is in the congressional hearing, and the people were going to turn state's evidence so they wouldn't go to jail. And one of the guys says, yeah, I was like a buffer. Yeah, they got a lot of buffers, right? Everybody in every chain, the President of the United States is a buffer. He's a person who takes the heat. He doesn't make any decisions. He doesn't control shit.
And for all those right now, because when you used to say this, and especially when Bush was in office, I'd say, well, bullshit, he's making all this, he's doing this, he's doing that. And now I look at it, and with some perspective and some years to kind of the long view, and I go, wait a minute, nothing changed from Bush Sr., I mean, this is from when I could actually pay attention. So from Bush Sr. through Obama, nothing foreign policy or really at home has changed, and that includes healthcare because Bush started the healthcare shit. So Obama can't claim that, and that's actually Romney care. Like, it's all Republicans and Democrats are all on the same path. They just pretend to have they wear two different jerseys so that you think they're on different teams, but they're all pushing the same agenda.
Classic example. I'm going to say this, and everybody listening will get this analogy. When I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, there was only one sport that you paid attention to. And we called it wrestling. Because in Memphis, we didn't have any pro teams. We had the Memphis State Tigers, which are now the University of Memphis, and we had pro wrestling. WRASSLIN'. Now, to this day, wrestling is designed just like government. You've got some bad guys, and they're really bad. And you got some good guys, and they're really good. You got no middle of the road guys.
No.
Because they don't make any money.
Well, that's boring.
That's boring.
Yeah.
But the bad guys fighting the good guys, when the day is over, those guys go to dinner because they both get checks from the same company.
And they're friends.
And they're buddies.
Yep.
Which will explain, if anybody had any doubt, look at all the times that you saw Bush, Daddy Bush, Clinton, Jimmy Carter, and Obama in the same room smiling and grinning with each other. It's not war, folks. They don't have war with each other. They just send you somewhere to make war with somebody so they can take their shit. Look, believe me, I believe that any man, woman, and both of them usually are kids when they go in, who's in the United States military should be commended for taking the initiative to go risk their lives for whatever reason. But we have not had any freedom loss in this country since what?
Well, not by an outside
Not
source.
by an outsider.
No.
Since what? The French-American War?
Yeah, I mean, since the 1800s.
Right,
I mean, yeah,
right.
there's no...
So every military move that required somebody pick up some kind of weapon and take somebody out has been designed for one thing: acquisition. So
wealth, land, stuff,
whatever. And anybody who opposes that, they're labeled as a dictator. They're labeled as an extremist, and they get taken out. And the guy who they want in that position so they can control the flow gets put in. Muammar Gaddafi. Was he an idiot? Oh, of course he was an idiot. Look at his hair. Okay?
Right.
The guy was an idiot.
Right.
But
did he deserve the broomstick up his ass?
No, he didn't. And the reason why he didn't, because right before they took him out, he was planning with other African nations to get off the U.S. dollar and start creating their own currency that was backed by gold and oil.
Which is the only way that the U.S. will be taken out, by the way.
Right. Exactly. Financially, it's the only way. But let's get back to what that all means. What that all means is we are products of propaganda.
So what are they trying to tell us in Ferguson? What is, because the narrative, okay, let me tell you, let's see if I have it. Because to me, the narrative seems to be that black people are put down by white people, and that the police are the weapon of the white people,
right.
And that without, it's no matter what black people do, this is going to happen. I think that's basically the narrative. That it's black people because of the color of your skin. There's nothing you can do about it. You're not responsible in any way for anything that's happened, but this is just how it is. Is that basically the way that the media is setting it up?
Again, take everything you see in the news, take all forms of political bullshit, and look at it like wrestling. What are they trying to make your emotions do? Because they know that people lead by emotion. Very few people lead by logic. Everything they do from an emotional response. Now, what Ferguson, Sandy Hook, the guy who the cops got no indictment for choking him and killing him on video, Rodney King, the kid who looked like a clown with the orange hair, who
they beat his face in until he died.
Right. Or the guy who went in the movie theater and shot up a bunch of people wearing military-grade stuff. Yep. Yeah. All of those things, first of all, I can go real deep with it and show you tons and tons of evidence that all this stuff was fiction. But that's another story.
Yeah, and maybe there's a rabbit hole I can't necessarily follow you down anyway.
But at this point, I know this for a fact. Anything that comes on the news that they're asking you to watch day in and day out is designed to get you focused on that while they do something else.
Don't pay attention to the good hand or to the bad hand. Watch the good hand.
Exactly. It's like sleight of hand. It's like a good magic trick. If you go back to the day that they posed this lack of indictment for the Michael Brown, whatever, go into the financial section of the newspaper, go into the foreign affairs section of the newspaper, and look at what was going on in the world in government while they were waving their left hand in the air. What were they doing with their right hand? Because the bottom line is, if you look at the statistics of people who are killed by police officers in the United States of America, more melanin deficient people are murdered by police officers than melanin enriched people. And a lot of people say,
now, is that just a population thing? That would be the easy, that's the easy argument.
No, it's not a population thing. It's a class thing. Economic standing and degree of real education dictates your future in this country. If you're broke, if you're poor, it's two different positions. If you're broke, you may be able to get over it. Today,
I'm broke.
I'm kind of
I know what broke
right now.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Today. I won't be broke tomorrow, but I'm broke today. But because I went and bought Christmas crap for last night. I'm broke today, but I won't be broke tomorrow. But poor is a state of mind. You're raised poor. You think poor. So if somebody gives you $1 million, you throw it away quickly because you don't even believe you should have it.
And you just nailed something. It's not what you're worth monetarily. It's what you value your self-worth.
Exactly. Because that's the only thing that's really worth anything. Because
and to take you where I think you go, that is what there's a whole. Let me get my head together here. Holy shit.
I love it.
So this whole thing, the whole media framing it this way, is to make sure and to keep that notion going. That you don't feel that you are shit and that the man will always hold you down. Whether that man be black, white, green, yellow, it doesn't even matter. It's not about race necessarily. Exactly. But I watched Rand University last night, or is that what's the Randy Moss 30 for 30? Mm-hmm. And that Rand, I don't even remember what state that, West Virginia. He played ball with a couple of guys that were really good too, and the one of them was he just never even saw it as a possibility that this sport would take him away from Rand. Like that was he was going to live there for the rest of his life. But Randy Moss did, and the other guy went to Notre Dame. But it just showed you its mentality. It wasn't that actual police were holding him down or that the government was holding him down. It was he was held down by a thought that he wasn't shit.
Think about this too. Who would have thought 6 years ago, just as early as 6 years ago, that you can turn on the television on a Sunday and see Randy Moss in a suit doing commentary and doing it well.
Yeah. They would have never thought.
Never.
No.
But he did. And somebody said to me a while back when Randy got his big contract, back then it's small now comparatively.
Yeah.
But Randy got this big contract. And that's a Minnesota thing for sure. That farmer mentality makes everybody with money seem like, he doesn't deserve that kind of money. All right? And I would interrupt people every time they said that. I said, I'll tell you what. There's two people who believe Randy Moss should have that kind of money. The person who's paying him and Randy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you believed you deserved $10 million a year, you wouldn't be sitting your broke ass in this bar talking shit about Randy Moss and his money. You'll be making your own money instead of being a hater.
Right.
Because you think about it, the definition of a hater is somebody who wants what you have.
Yep.
But they don't want it bad enough to get it.
Well, and they don't think they deserve it.
They don't deserve it.
But they do because they're pissed that you have it.
No, they still don't believe they deserve it because inside
they just don't think you deserve it
They just don't think you deserve it.
Jeez.
So let's get that.
So now nobody deserves shit. That's where we are now. That's the country we live in.
Exactly.
Now we're all pawns, and nobody deserves anything.
But you know what? Here's an even deeper point. On the chessboard that is this matrix we're in, we're not even the pawn.
You mean we're lower?
The President, Congress, and Senate and Supreme Court of the United States of America equals one pawn on the board. All of them equal one pawn on the board.
Jesus.
We're like the dust that settles on the table that they push the pawns on.
But we're through the stream of sunlight coming into the room.
Right.
We're that one little speck of dust in there. Yeah.
That's us. And us meaning everybody else.
Right.
In one
300
speck
million.
of dust.
Yeah.
300 million people equal that one speck of dust that's floating in the sunlight as you can see it, while the pawn is moving across the board. That's how big it is. Now, if you stay in that small mindset that they're trying to put you in, if you stay in that little bitty box that they try to put you in, and the interesting thing about it is the box is made out of wrapping paper. It's a thin piece of shit box.
You can bust through it with your nails. You don't even need a weapon.
A good breath. And you can bust that box wide the fuck open. Right. How much did it take for you to bust out of that box you're in?
Literally thought.
Literally a conversation.
It took a thought. It took a certain. It literally was like a spark. I mean, it was like the blue pill. It really was.
But remember, if you put a half inch thick chain around the ankle of a baby elephant and put it in a stake in the ground, and that baby elephant realizes that he can't get away from that chain, you can hold that same elephant when that elephant's 25, 30 years old, 2 tons with that same stake and chain, because in his mind, he can't break it. I have trained, I'm going to give you another example. I used to have a black Labrador, and just like a blues song and a country song, I lost the dog, the cat, and the only good news was I lost a wife. So I'm happy. I'm happy now. Yeah. So, but anyway, I had a black lab, and when he was a puppy, in our yard, I kept my grass cut really well. But there was one spot in the yard near the back corner that used to be a garden that had grown up in weeds. So the weeds were like 3-4 inches tall up to my knee, maybe 5 or 6 inches, up to my ankle. But to the puppy, it was up on his shoulders. And I taught him to go potty there. To this day, I don't know where he is right now, but to this day, if you take him outside and tell him, go hurry up, and he goes to potty, he's going to find the tallest grass he can find, and that's where he's going. If he's on a golf course, he'll run for 15 minutes until he finds some spot.
He's got to find the rough.
He's got to find the rough.
Yeah.
That's how we are as humans, especially here in America. Now, I'm not saying that it's not that way everywhere, because it is. But 99% of the stuff that we claim to believe, we don't have any idea where we get it from. We don't know if it's indeed true. We follow all kinds of dumb shit. And we follow it because our moms and dads start us off in that fucked up position.
Right.
Because think about it. Santa Claus?
Well, for the kids listening, let's not ruin anything.
Hey, I don't have any kids, but if I had a son or a daughter right now, and that little motherfucker comes home talking about Santa Claus, I say, no. I bought that shit. No.
And I, for some reason, I don't feel like you're saying that so that the kid knows it was your money.
No,
it's more
my
about
like,
the whole.
I did this. Don't supplant what me and your mom did to make your life a life that you will never know the kind of life I had. Don't supplant that with some fictitious bullshit.
And magic.
And
too.
magical
like
shit.
It's not that you could do it on your own. It's
right.
magical.
It's magical.
Yeah.
No. I did that, right? In the same respect, do not let people tell you what to think.
You're describing me through all those years I listened to right-wing talk radio.
Question everything. I don't care what it is. My kid is gonna have that look on his face or her face every day, like, Dad is getting ready to slap the shit out of me, because he's gonna know to ask questions.
But you're going to teach your kids to not conform, which is going to get them in a lot of trouble.
A lot of trouble. But if they know how to maneuver through the matrix, because there will be no destroying of the matrix.
No, it's pretty well built.
They didn't build that shit yesterday.
No.
All right, they've been working on this matrix in this country since the 1600s.
I was going to say, you could go back even longer.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Western society has been doing this for thousands of years.
Thousands of years. It's been set up that way. But question everything. I've gone so far as to question every part of what I've been told all my life.
Well, back on topic a little on the Ferguson thing, because and this ties into the whole political thing that you and I have talked about too, but it's so, and I was asked this, I talked about how I didn't vote this last election. We had a show like that night. I'm done. I don't vote. I voted for a couple of issues 2 years ago, like the smoking, or not smoking ban, but the like the gay marriage thing. And
vote on what's important to you.
Exactly. I vote on real issues, but I don't believe that the people I vote into power actually have any power, so I don't bother. But so it's really easy for me to get that. Like, I get that at the high level, Obama doesn't do anything. I honestly do believe that Obama's told what to do, that he is a puppet. He is there to take the brunt of the criticism and all that.
Hold that thought. A buddy of mine who thinks like us too, he said to me one time, here's what happened on day one of Obama's presidency. And it happens to all of them, but here's what I believe happened with Obama. He said, they brought him in and showed him, this is the presidential basketball court. Here's the presidential tennis court.
Well, he's the black guy. I think they're bringing right to the basketball court.
That's first. Well, that's just because he likes basketball.
Well,
all right, so
true.
Next thing, here's where you can go and order any food on the planet, right? Here's a special door that you can bring your girlfriends in and out of.
Right.
Or your boyfriends. We don't
way
judge.
You swing, yeah.
Here's the presidential first lady toilet that we had built specifically for a sister's ass. God bless her.
Not that she's got a huge ass.
She's got a huge ass, and that's fantastic, actually. But here's the next room we're going to take you to, Mr. President, and it's behind this door. And he said, what door? All right. Push a little button, door opens up that you didn't know was there. He goes into a dark room. They lead him to a chair, have him sit down, and they shine a light in his face so he can't see the 3-4 people who are sitting across from him. And then they tell him, okay, here's what your marching orders are for the next 8 years. 8? I just say,
no. We'll get you reelected.
Shut up, son. Yep. We got this. All right? Here's what you're going to do for the first 4. Here's what you're going to do for the next 4. In the middle of all those things that we don't even know about, I'm not talking about the stuff that we know that he's done.
Right.
Because he didn't do them. Here are the things you're going to enact. Here's the things you're going to do. And in the middle, you're going to do this little bit of thing about healthcare. And in here, you're going to do a little bit of thing about this. And then you're going to say something about Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook? Yeah, don't worry about it. We got it. Then we're going to talk about this Mike Brown. And then we're going to do this thing. And at the end of your 8 years, you're going to go off. They're going to build your library. You're going to go off and be like every other president. Everybody's going to love you after the fact.
And you'll be taken care of for the rest of your life.
You'll be taken care of and your family for the rest of your life. If you deviate from those orders, which is your right, you are a free-thinking individual. But if you deviate, first of all, we're going to show you the real Zapruder film.
Yep.
The real one.
Right.
To show you who actually had their guns trained on JFK.
Right.
Then we want you to know that your Secret Service detail, who follows you, but also follows your wife and children, they have a code word that when they hear it in their ear, they are not to detain, they are not to wait, they are not to think, they are to draw and shoot. That is your job, sir, if you choose to accept it.
Well, and you don't have a choice.
And you
You're
don't
going
have
to
a
accept
choice,
it.
by the way. All right?
All right.
Who wants that life? Imagine the sociopathic, egomaniacal brain necessary.
Well, to get even close to that level in the first
level.
Yeah. No, I mean, to run for Senate, you're an egomaniac.
Look, when I was living in Austin, Texas, Kevin can attest to this, my boy Kevin, George W. Bush was the crazy, really cool guy that everybody saw down on 6th Street buying everybody drinks because his dad was rich. And he was rich, and he was about to own the Texas Rangers.
Yep.
Every month I would see him in a bar. Him, couple of guys, not security detail, just him and a couple of guys, big dudes who took care of him.
Sure.
Because he was rich and his dad didn't want him to get killed.
And he's buying their drinks.
And he's buying drinks and he's snorting coke and he's picking up chicks.
Oh, yeah.
We loved him because he would come in and buy the whole bar.
No,
drink.
I can't imagine being friends with a Bush. I mean, that would obviously be really fun.
Way fucking
Be a good
cool.
time, yeah.
Way fucking
Yeah,
cool.
really good time.
All right? But his dad forced him into big level politics. Because
He just wanted to own that team, right? He just wanted
just
to
wanted
own
to
a baseball
own a team
team
and get
think of how
laid.
fun that would be anyway.
and just get laid.
And get laid.
That's all. But his dad knew there's some things that I was not giving the orders to do. And I made the mistake of going one direction, and it cost me a second term. They didn't kill me. They didn't kill your mom. But
And that's more to keep going down the road you're going. That's to cover them.
To cover
I mean,
them.
they wouldn't
Right.
not kill you because they care about
Right.
you. It's
Just
more,
because they
well,
would
then we have to
trace back.
deal with that.
right, we have to deal with the shit that we left laying around.
Right.
Nowadays they don't leave stuff laying around as much because it's so easy to see it and find it.
Well, and you think of JFK, if that happened today with today's science and forensics
10
and
minutes.
computers, and that's
10
not
minutes.
happened. There's no
Yeah.
magic bullet shit in 2014.
He wouldn't have been killed because they would have known.
Well, yeah.
He wouldn't have been killed the way he was, at least, because everything he did would have been.
Right.
Yeah, everybody had a fucking.
Oh yeah,
cell
everybody
phone
have a
camera.
cell phone now. Yeah, the whole thing would have been recorded. They'd be like, his head went back to the left. No, I got it from a different angle. Look at this. No, yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, back to the left. Bullshit. Check
Right.
this out. Yeah, no.
And nowadays, there's no reason whatsoever to kill a president. Because
they're in your pocket.
in
Like,
the
why would you
pocket,
bother?
It's a money thing. Think about it. The money that they used to just get Mitt Romney not elected
That's a really good
was
point.
was as much money as the whole United States government spent on the whole United States in about 1975.
Jesus Christ. Think
Can you
about that.
imagine for one dude to lose the money that was spent for him to lose? And by the way,
And
he did
any
not
money
lose.
that's spent, by the way, is earned.
Earned,
Like,
right.
it's not like that money just disappeared into the ether.
Right. Now remember also, nobody is elected at the top office of the United States. You are appointed. The President of the United States was appointed. Barack Obama was already lined up to be the President of the United States when he was living in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Well, my buddy called it before the election even started, like 2 years, maybe a year before we even had candidates. He said it's going to be a black woman. He didn't even care politics. Right. It's going to be a black woman. What do we get? Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, both from the Democratic Party. Like, he nailed it. And it wasn't about what they stood for. It was what they looked like and what they represented. Like, it was just this cover.
And also because the game is bigger than what we know, these guys are infighting. The big boys, there's two factions. There's a Euro faction, and then there's a what they call the Texas boys. There's a Euro faction of the Rothschilds and the all those guys, and then you got the faction that controls the Bushes and the Clintons and all those people. Because the Bushes and the Clintons they're brokers. They're not on a big level. But when those guys were infighting, they made decisions that changed the whole course of how we look at shit, and we didn't even know what they were really doing or why. Think about this. Something happened that pissed off the British faction to the point where they pulled Hillary Clinton. Because at the time when Barack Obama was running for president, why the fuck did they pull this kid out of Chicago and have him speak at the Democratic National Convention? Who he had
He was unknown.
Unknown.
Yep.
Only difference, though, was the person who he knew was Brzezinski. See, Brzezinski is one of those brokers.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So he trained him, right? Getting him ready, right? Now, out of nowhere, Hillary was killing everywhere she went.
Yep.
She was killing.
Oh, yeah.
As far as we knew.
Well, yeah, from the polls that
From
we're
the
told.
polls that
and,
we're
yeah,
told. And when
the
you go-
information that we're given
Right, that
said
we're given.
Hillary would be next president.
Out of nowhere, bam, she's out. Get the kid in. It was like baseball.
Mm-hmm.
She's throwing strike after strike after strike. Hey, Hillary,
We got a
flagged
new
her
guy.
over. We got a new guy. Come on. But I was no. Come on.
No, and hold on, and let me make your point a little bit more for you too. He was pushed as this new coming of black. Obviously, that was part of it, but it wasn't just because he was black. He was a new type of politician.
Exactly.
He stood for everyone. He
if
was
it
a
had-
true
'cause
American.
if it had been just about him being black, he'd have never been elected because
Right.
there's not enough black people in America to have elected him if everybody voted.
Of course not. But I went to that his speech at the XL right down the street here from Burger Mo's where we're doing the show, and I went there with an open mind, believe it or not, because I was still that crazy righty. But I went there. I'm like, there's this hype. Like I feel like the nation is embracing this guy, which again probably media hype. But that was what I was being fed. And I went and I listened to that entire speech. I was there with ABC News. I was helping out whoever that guy was, the radio guy for ABC News. And I watched that entire hour-long speech, or half hour, whatever it was. And I went, I've heard every fucking word you just said from every Democrat politician in my life.
Right.
There's nothing new.
Nothing new.
He didn't bring anything new to the table whatsoever, other than his skin, and somehow he projected this thing, which again, media driven.
Exactly.
But I have to take this because I am the questioner, and I like to question everything, as you're saying too. So we're talking top down. We get that, and I agree with you. I think that's where this makes sense. Where this doesn't make sense is at the bottom, and I agree with what you're saying too. At the top of the media, that's the same.
Right.
The guys that run the media are in control of things, and they're manipulating you.
2 corporations owned by one family.
Right, but that doesn't explain how I got to say what I got to say on KSTP radio. And it does a little, I understand, and I'll get to that. But it doesn't explain John Haidt reading what news stories he picks off the wire. He grabs them. He think, what's Suchere going to like? I'll just grab. It doesn't. So the little guy, I don't feel anyway, is really directly at least being told by the man, whoever it is, media man, politician man, to do X. So.
Not directly.
So if it's coming from the top, how does it get to the bottom without the bottom knowing it? Because the bottom doesn't know it. The people, you go to CNN, you go to any major Fox News, I guarantee it. Every one of those guys, they think I'm reporting on what I see, and I'm feeding it back to the station.
Right.
And then they're writing a story, and that's how news works.
The question is, how did you get what you see? How did it get there? That's the question. Just like George Carlin said, we don't have freedom of choice. We get to pick, cafe latte or mocha. We don't really make any real decisions because all our decisions are given for us. It's like if you got a kid.
No,
no I don't
kids
either.
Yet.
But I know people who got kids. The best way to get a kid to make a decision is not to give them every option. Give them 2.
Yep. Limit the spectrum.
Give them 2. They haven't pushed us much past children. We get 2 choices. You get 2. Now.
And as I've described, and I think I talked to you either before or after I did that podcast where I straight up said, and I went about a half an hour long about how I described how politicians now, you get Coke and Pepsi.
That's it.
You don't get juice. You don't get water. You're not offered even
You get 2 dark sodas.
You get 2 shitty,
and they
bad
both look
for you
the same.
sodas. Yes,
they look exactly the same.
They taste damn near identical, really. I mean, we're all and this is another thing. We're all taught to pick one.
Right.
But they're cola.
They're
cola.
Exactly.
It's one thing.
Exactly.
And that's Republicans and Democrats. It's cola. Give me some fucking orange juice. Give me anything that's good for me. And they will not. Here, come over here. Well, no, here. Throw these on. No, throw these on.
My boy Special K is coming in the game now. He couldn't take it any longer.
I knew you'd want to get in eventually here. Here, go back to where you were. Put that mic. You got a mic on the side of your headphones. Put that down in front of your mouth. All right, we're going to get you into the game here.
Introduce yourself, brother.
Good evening. My name's Kevin.
He sat there for 45 minutes
Yeah,
before he had to jump
believe
in.
it.
I would have never made it more than 2.
Oh,
so I'm impressed, actually.
Sweet Lord. Look, on the point of the 2 choices, if you do not believe that we, especially here in Minnesota, because we're an anomaly unto the rest of the nation.
Right.
I remember where I was the night, and Jay, you probably could do the same. I remember where I was the night Jesse Ventura was elected.
Oh my God! I was only 17 or 18, but I remember that.
And as political junkies as Greg and myself are, more fun than watching that election was watching the people covering that election.
Because of their confusion?
You could see it on the faces whether it was the Norm Coleman camp or the Humphrey camp. It was like, because they knew it was one of those guys was going. There's no way Jesse was going to get elected.
Right.
It was not going to happen. I mean, Jesse was at the racetrack, for God's sake, right? That's where he did his victory party.
Right, because he never thought he had a shot.
Yeah. At a gambling casino. Okay, so there was no way Jesse was going to win it. It wasn't going to happen. But the people on the networks here freaked the fuck out. They couldn't believe it. Don't do that. You're vibrating.
He's banging his hands. He's excited. It's cool.
And I got this. And Jesse, if you're out there, please, God, tell me if I'm wrong. But I heard from a reliable source that nobody got through to Jesse other than Jesse's wife. Jesse's wife is the one that came to him and said, "Okay, listen. I kind of went along with this whole thing, just thinking this is going to be fun for you. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to do, baby. You do what you want to do."
No, I married a wrestler. I'm good for a show.
Yeah, right.
This is fun.
But I am not living at the mansion. I am not going to be Miss Minnesota. You do what you got to do. But this is your game, not my game. That's why you never seen them living at the mansion and becoming, a Coleman family or the Humphrey family or any of that stuff. They stayed out there on the outskirts of town. They did, and Jesse really didn't go nuts until they started messing with his kids.
Yep.
Remember?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
His son was
partying
going nuts,
in the mansion.
Partying in the mansion. And once they did that, once you went with Jesse's kids, then Jesse went nuts because Mama went nuts, and then Jesse went nuts. And they could
she didn't bargain for that shit.
No. And everybody that's when Gore came to town and was courting them for the independent. That's when the independent party was going to be coming up, because Jesse was in charge of the independent party. But Jesse wasn't in charge of the independent party. He backed away from the whole independent thing. You had camps everywhere of the whole. If there was ever going to be a rise of a third party, that was going to be it. You now had a sitting governor, as an independent. And the Democrats and the Republicans in this state hated each other so much. The one thing that they were united on is they hated Jesse more.
So true.
Right?
No, everybody hated Jesse.
Everybody hated Jesse.
I love Jesse.
Jesse, yeah. So
he's out of his fucking mind, too.
So then Gore comes to town and says, okay, there's a possibility I may make you my vice president. At which point the wife goes to Jesse again and goes, if you go to D.C., you going without me, because I ain't playing in this fishbowl anymore.
Now, how smart is Jesse's wife, apparently? I mean, she knew she didn't want to be part of that shit.
Okay, let's look back. Let's go all the way back. Not all the way back. Let's go back to Eleanor Roosevelt. The first lady has run the United States of America since Eleanor Roosevelt.
I've said
Don't
before.
ever get it twisted. Don't ever get it twisted. What did Prince say? Pussy control.
We could say anything on this, right?
Absolutely.
I just did.
I'm gonna say it. You know what? It would have stopped the Iraqi war? Laura Bush giving a good blowjob.
Done and done.
But hold on, George doesn't make any decisions, right?
He'd make a decision after that. Any man would. There's only two things that control this world: women and money.
Exactly.
It's hard to disagree with either one of those.
And everything that you two have been talking about tonight, really, we could sit here and kid around about it, drinking, Cokes at a bar and having a good time at Burger Mo's. But really, the color of all of this is green.
Green is a motherfucker.
Green
is goose shit. Green is goose shit.
Green.
That's what it's about, baby.
It's follow the money trail.
Didn't Jesse say that all the time? Follow the money trail.
Follow.
How is he still alive, by the way?
Jesse's
the
alive.
Stuff that he's brought up, even some of it's obviously even too crazy.
But it's all real though.
Well, the FEMA stuff, there's
all
a lot
that's
of
legitimate shit.
Yeah.
But the reason why Jesse's alive is because Jesse knows I can speak on it, I can talk about it, I can have a show about it, but I can't tell the whole story that I know. Because the people who run the shit, the propaganda machine, they know that the shit that's real is so fucking crazy. If somebody, okay, you saw The Matrix.
Yeah.
Imagine, J-Mac, just imagine, if you will, you were sitting in your room, in the control room, back in the KSTP days, and all of a sudden, on your computer, something comes up and says, "We know who you are. We know what you think. It's time for you to go down the rabbit hole.
Follow the white rabbit."
Follow the white rabbit, right?
Yep.
And then by the end of the day, you're sitting across some big black dude named Morpheus. And he tells you that everything that you believe to be true is all bullshit. That's why you look at me that way. Because you see me as the Morpheus that showed up and told you some shit that there's no way could be real until you actually opened your eyes.
And you can't. I've had this conversation. We're gonna take a quick break and give a little props to our voiceover guy, but it's the same thing too that we. Well, no, we'll give him our guy his due, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Terry Daniel, and I've been a voice actor in Minneapolis for over 2 decades now. How often are you getting compliments on your voice? Now is the time to do something about it. If you're interested in getting into voiceovers, please contact me via my website at universalvoicetalent.com.
Just a quick break. Thank you, Terry Daniel, for being our voiceover guy, and we're going to have promos and all kinds of stuff coming from him, hopefully very soon. All right, so go ahead. What were you going to say?
What I was going to say is, what Kevin is saying, and the only way the Special K know how to say, is...
That's a great nickname, by the way.
Right? Is that when it all breaks down, when all of the intricacies of the Matrix and the political meandering and the propaganda machine and all the technology and all that shit, when you just pull all of that back, it still comes down to one thing. Everybody on the planet Earth, that we can see at least, are humans. We do things in patterns. We follow structure based on patterns that were set up either for us or against us. But there's one thing that is true, and it doesn't have to be man-woman. It can be man-man, man-little kid, man whatever. Your urges, your desires were built in. It's built-in programs, just like programs you get on a laptop when you first buy it. You didn't put the hard wiring. You can fight against that all you want, but the reason why the consciousness is moving is because, like Jeff Goldblum's character in Jurassic Park, he says, nature always finds a way.
Mm-hmm.
You can, and just like when I told
you can't always hold us down.
You can't. That's the reason why you see grass growing up through cracks in the sidewalk.
Right.
You cannot stop what is naturally going to occur. You can put all the concrete on top of it. You can put all the boxes over our heads. You can do whatever you want. But consciousness is a natural thing.
And in a microcosm, you just described my consciousness, which had layer and layer and layer of concrete upon it.
The grass was trying to bust through.
And what I was getting to before the quick little break there was that there is no way for us, all three of us, see, we're outside the box. We have taken the blue pill. We've seen the light. I can't, and it's so condescending, and I always thought of you as condescending, and not like personally, like you weren't a jerk, but it seemed condescending because you were like, no, I have this knowledge that you don't, idiot. Like, it's just, all you gotta do is fucking look at it. But you can't do that until you do. Like, it's one of those parts of life where you can't experience it until you're experiencing it, and no one can show you how to experience it. It really is, until you're there, you're never there. And it's what the fuck? How do I help someone else who's in my position then? Because I don't know how to get them out of the hole.
Here's a classic example. The propaganda, the training, the upbringing, all of the pieces that go all the way back as far as you want to go that has created a nation full of young, melanin-enriched individuals not having a clue about what's going on around them. And then you got the same people who are melanin deficient who also don't know what the fuck's going on, and all they do is put them in the same spot.
And then hit them against each other.
And see what happens.
Yep.
It's a game. The cop who shot Michael Brown, right, is just a dude. He's afraid, just like Michael Brown was afraid when that cop pulled up, because he was trained that when you see those colors and those lights, it evokes a certain emotional outcome.
Well, especially when he says, "Hey, fucker, get off the street."
Right,
Like
exactly.
Again, that's his preconceived shit put into him.
Meaning
Darren Wilson.
Right. So what happens is he is reacting to his stimulus that was created for him. The cop is reacting to the stimulus that was created for him. If you think about it, now I know I'm going to go against the grain with some of you gun people, but the bottom line is a gun is not an instrument of murder or killing. It is an instrument of fear. Because if you weren't afraid, you wouldn't need the fucking gun.
That's so true.
So why do you think all cops got them? Because they're afraid.
And here's where I want to be a kind of come as maybe a little rational too, is that you should be. Shouldn't a cop be afraid in a lot of situations?
Look, if I was a cop, I'd have my gun out all the time. I would wake up with my gun out. Driving down the street, got my shit out the window. Don't think it, motherfucker. Don't even think it. Right?
But then we get mad when something happens.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you got that, all of that in a powder cake, and then when you go up the chain and you see people, it's like what? It's like, let's dump a bunch of fish that don't ordinarily hang out together into a fish bowl, and let's just watch and see what they do.
And that's not even throwing in the whole, we can set up a little bit this way economically and then this way economically. And then
exactly. And then let's throw just a little bit of food in there and see which one ends up with all of it, and the other ones see if they kill them.
It's fucking Hunger Games.
It's Hunger Games. Don't understand this, people. This whole fucking thing is Hunger Games. It's a whole big old deal where you got some people sitting up in the white ivory tower, white meaning nothing that you think it means. Believe me, the words white and black don't mean what you think it means, but that's another story for another day. But you've got these people in this tower watching us kill each other. Why? Because you can't very well do what you used to be able to do. In this country, you can. You can do it in Israel. You can have a few people with some rocks getting murdered by some people with some guns.
Yeah.
But here, you notice you don't see uprisings to the degree where 20, 30, 40, 50 people get killed by the police at once, like cops with riot gear on just shooting people. They might tear gas them. They might shoot them with some rubber bullets. Yeah. Come on. You know what I mean? They're not designed to kill you. They do all that stuff to see how you react to it.
They did that at Kent State.
Exactly. They've been doing it since the 60s.
This is all a repeat of that.
Everything is a repeat because it's a formula. Remember, the formula keeps getting rehashed every few years. So what's the best thing we can do for stuff like this Mike Brown and all that stuff? Nothing. Because when we do nothing, it freaks them the fuck out.
But unfortunately, everyone is doing something.
Exactly.
They're all freaking out all over across the country.
They're fucking up.
They're giving them exactly what they want.
Stay in the house. Don't say nothing. Those people in Ferguson would have lost their fucking minds.
I told my listeners today on my Facebook page and on the Twitter page that I was going to offer a nuanced look at Ferguson. Nuanced is definitely not the word. It's not strong enough. It's not nearly close. This is the perspective, though. This is where everyone's got to get to. And I'm going to spend every hour I do this podcast pushing people toward the light. Like,
and J-Mac, anytime you want me on, call me, brother. I'm in. Trust me. Anytime.
You are welcome anytime. Molly is back tomorrow night. We'll be live at O'Gara's tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. Dude, you are welcome anytime. You are my fill-in co-host for all the other fucking times Molly can't make it. And then, you can come sit in with us, dude. It's always been a great time. Thank you so much. We go back for years and years. I am so glad to have you. Thank you for coming in. It's been so fun.
Thank you for having me.
This is the Minnesota Pubcast, and we will see you tomorrow.